This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so what we covered yesterday, we already done the setup of the controlling area. Okay, and uh, we also activated the cost center accounting in our controlling area, and we activated the profit center accounting. Okay, so just a quick recap. So this is how we created our controlling area. We can directly go through transaction code OKKP. Okay, and our controlling area was uh, ABCS, right? This is the controlling area that we created. Now within this controlling area, we activated some of the components and we kept the setting as controlling area same as company code.
Hello, Vikram. We couldn't hear you now.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, there was some problem. Yeah, so this is the controlling area that we created, and we specified that we are going to use this controlling area for only one company code. Okay, and that is the company code ABCS again. Okay, so here we assigned company code ABCS to our controlling area, again ABCS. Okay, and then we activated some of the components, right? If I go to the activate components, now as I told you, whenever we are using controlling module, we can tell the system what are the components within controlling we can use, right? So whether we want to use order management or not. So as of now, we are not activated this till now. Okay, but otherwise, whether we want to use cost center accounting, activity-based costing, COPA, if you want to integrate your controlling module with the project system, sales, similarly real estate management, then we have to activate all these components. Okay, so if we talk about the core components of SAP controlling module, basic things are cost center accounting and profit center accounting, right? So cost center accounting we can activate from here itself, but if you want to activate profit center accounting, then we have seen there is a separate configuration, okay, which is available under SPRO IMG. Okay, you have to go to the controlling folder. Within controlling, you will go to profit center accounting, basic settings, controlling area settings, and this is where you have to activate profit center accounting for your controlling area. Okay, so this is how we activated it yesterday. So now at least two components are active, which we can start to perform the transactions, that is cost center accounting and profit center accounting. Now what is the next thing is, now next thing, whenever you want to post any document in controlling, okay, so let's say this is your controlling component. Let me remove these things, delete. Okay, let me otherwise come down. Okay, so let's say if I draw a box here, let's say this is my controlling component. Now this controlling component, it will take the values from different modules in SAP, right? It is very rare that we are posting the transactions directly in the CO module. Okay, so although we can post the entries directly in the CO module, but most of the time, all these values are coming from multiple different modules from SAP. Okay, so if you take an example, let's say this is our FI component, same way this is, let's say this is our SD component, then this is our MM component, and this is our, let's say, any PS or any other module. So although most of the time the values will flow via FI to CO. Okay, I'll give the example. So if I talk about SD module, this SD can directly post into controlling. Okay, if I talk about the COPA module, okay, so no need to worry as of now, but just understand that it is possible that some of the components are directly sending the values without going through FI module directly into CO. Okay, but otherwise, if I talk about MM module, if I talk about the financial accounting obviously will come here. So whenever I'm posting any FI document, the values will flow from here to here. Okay, so now the question is, what are the kind of postings which will flow in CO? Okay, so CO, as I told you, rarely posts any value directly in this particular component. Most of the values are coming from all other components in SAP to SAP CO. Okay, so if I want to make any postings in CO, in case of controlling, we definitely need the cost objects. Okay, so whatever values you are posting in controlling, it would be with reference to the cost object. Now, what is cost object? Whenever we are talking about the controlling, there are two important things. Number one, we will always post to the cost element. Okay, let's introduce these terms. So first term that we need to understand is cost element. And second is, whenever we are making any posting to controlling, it will also get posted to the particular cost object. Okay, so let's take an example. Whenever you are flowing the values from SD to controlling module, in this particular point of time, can you tell me what would be the cost object? Whenever you are sending the values from SD module to controlling module, what would be the cost object most of the time? I'm not saying it is necessary that it would be the same cost object, but can you give me one example?
I'm assuming order or something.
It would be sales order, right? Whenever you are creating any kind of sales order here, and if you want to see these reports in controlling module, so definitely this sales order will be treated as a cost object, and for this sales order, whatever is revenue or whatever is a cost, that would be transferred to the CO module. Okay, same way goes for PP module. You must have heard about product costing. That is what we are going to talk about in detail. So in PP module, whenever you are going to create, let's say, any production order, okay, and if you want to track the cost, like what is the planned cost of this production order and what is going to be the actual cost of this production order, so in that particular case, this production order would be treated as a cost object. Okay, so cost object can be, if you're talking about the different modules, cost object can be sales order. Okay, cost object can be production order. Okay, and when we talk about the values flowing from FI module, okay, whenever you are trying to post the values from FI module, can you tell me what would be the cost object in that case?
Cost center.
Normally we use cost centers, profit centers, internal orders, right? These are the cost objects which we will be using whenever we are posting the values through FI. Okay, so cost centers, internal orders. Okay, even if I want to directly post to COPA from FI itself, then profitability segment, right? These are the examples of the cost objects which would be required in the controlling module. Okay, now definitely before we carry out any transaction in controlling, before we post anything in controlling, what we need is, we definitely need this cost objects. Okay, because whenever you are trying to post anything in controlling, you have to post via cost objects. Okay, so from the integration point of view, we will understand production orders, sales orders, which are coming from the other modules. But when we are talking about the values which can flow from FI, the simplest posting, primary posting, which flows from FI to CO, in that case, we need two important objects. Number one is the cost objects, that is cost center, internal order, or profitability segment, or maybe statistical cost object, which is profit center, right? But other thing which is also required whenever you are making the postings from FI to CO is cost element. Okay, so what is cost element? Cost element is nothing but nature of cost. Okay, so whenever you are creating any controlling document, you are providing two important informations. Number one, what is nature of that cost? Number two, which is a cost object which is going to incur this cost. Okay, let's take an example. Let's say you are paying the salaries to your employees. Okay, and you, in your company there are different departments where the different employees are working. So you want to make the payment to the employees who belongs to admin department. So in that case, your cost element would be salaries, because you are paying salaries, so that is the nature of expense, and the cost object would be the admin department, right? So whenever you are making postings to controlling, you need to specify two things: what is the nature of that expense, second thing, who is the cost object who is going to bear this particular expense, right? So in short, if I want to carry out even the simpler postings into controlling, the first thing that I need is I need the cost element, and then I need the cost object. Okay, so these are the two important things that we need before we carry out any transactions in SAP controlling module. So now the question is, cost element, what are the different types of cost elements? Maybe you have heard about it. Cost elements, there are two types. What are those two types?
Primary cost element and secondary cost element.
Okay, so primary cost element and secondary cost element. What is the difference between these two?
Primary cost elements are the direct expenses to produce any product, and the secondary are allocation from CO to FI related elements through which we can post entries in FI, CO transaction in FI.
Okay, any other answer? This is okay, not the
Primary
very
is
important
not,
thing.
no, that is not correct. Primary is posting that is being done from FI to CO.
Okay.
Secondary cost element is cost center to cost center or anything within the controlling area, pocket to pocket. So that is what is secondary.
Okay, so you are saying primary means the cost element which flows the data from FI to CO. Okay, and secondary cost element is whatever postings you make within the CO component, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So the major difference, although what Sneha told, that is also correct. She told about the transactions that we carry out, but the major, like one liner, if I tell you what is the difference between primary cost element and secondary cost element is, primary cost element is responsible for sending the values which are posted in FI with cost object information to CO. Okay, again, let's take this example, same example which we took for salaries. Now, user is trying to book the salaries. Okay, when he booking the salaries, system is asking, okay, this salaries belongs to which particular cost center, right? So he is booking the FI entry, but he is also entering the cost center. So in this particular case, what will happen is, although the booking is being done in FI module, but at the same time, the values will flow to CO, so that if I go to the CO module, I'll be able to know how much cost has been incurred by the admin department on salaries, right? So that is an example of primary cost elements, which picks the data from FI and send it to the CO. So which means primary cost elements are postings, or maybe we can say these are the cost elements which transfers the postings from FI to CO. Okay, so whatever values will come to CO, they will come in two forms. Either they will be coming in the primary form or they will be coming in the secondary form. What does it mean? It means if the values are coming to CO module from FI, right, those would be primary cost postings. Those will be the primary cost elements whenever you are sending the values from FI to CO. I'm talking about the actual values. Okay, whenever you are sending the actual values, it would be whenever the transaction is posted in FI, the values will be posted to CO. Now, in addition to this, there will be some transactions which I'll be carrying out directly in CO module. Okay, so again, let's take the same example. You posted the salaries in the admin department. Okay, now admin department, whatever salaries you posted, let's say you posted the salaries of 100,000, okay, in a month. So this 100,000 is posted currently in the admin department, but due to some reason, now the management wants to divide this 100,000 into 50 percentage. 50 percentage they want to send it to some other cost center. Okay, so let's say they want to send it to the cost center. Within admin, they have two different departments. They just want to segregate two different departments. So let's say admin for one plant and admin for second plant. So initially, when the FI posting was done, the posting was done to one single admin department. But again, in CO, now the management wants to divide this into two different plants. So admin of plant 1 and admin of plant 2, for example. So what is happening here? There is one posting which came from FI to CO. This is called as a primary posting, which will come through primary cost element. Okay, and then the second posting, which is directly done in the CO module, you are not touching FI here. You are not doing the adjustment entry into FI. You are doing this adjustment entry of transferring the cost 50-50 into two different plants directly in the CO module. Okay, so if you are doing that, then this is called as a secondary posting. So whenever you are posting anything from FI, you definitely need the primary cost element. Without primary cost element, you will not be able to send the values from FI to CO. And whenever you are posting anything in CO directly, you definitely need a secondary cost element. Without secondary cost element, you cannot perform any adjustments within the CO module. Right? So these are the two cost elements that we need to create. There is another important thing. When we talk about primary cost element, in FI, these are also called as GLs. Okay, so primary cost elements are created in CO, but at the same time, this primary cost element, before I create any primary cost element in CO, this cost element should already be there in FI as the GL account. That is a prerequisite. Okay, so each and every primary cost element must already be created as a GL account within finance. Okay, while for secondary cost element, again, if I talk from the ECC point of view now, previously in secondary cost elements, if I want to create any secondary cost element, there was no need to create the GL account in FI for secondary cost elements. Okay, GL accounts were only created for primary cost elements. For secondary cost elements, we were directly creating cost element without any reference to GL account. Right? This was a master data which was part of FI and CO integration part, while this was a master data only belongs to the CO module. But now when we are talking about SAP S/4HANA, starting from the first version of SAP S/4HANA, even before S/4HANA when SAP came up with SAP Simple Finance, from that point onwards, it is mandatory to create the GL account for the secondary cost elements also. Okay, so whenever you want to create a secondary cost element, there is no more separate transaction to create a secondary cost element. You will be using the same transaction which we normally use to create a GL account. Okay, so that is the first basic difference if I compare ECC with S/4HANA. In ECC, only GLs were created for primary cost elements. In S/4HANA, primary as well as secondary cost elements need to be created as the GL accounts. Now the question is why? Why in ECC it was not required and now it is required in S/4HANA? The reason is in ECC, FI and CO components, they were independent of each other, although they were integrated in real time. Okay, so FI and CO, these were two different components in SAP ECC. So although you can see this is the integration link, which means whenever I post anything in FI, I can send it to CO. Same way, if I post anything in CO and if I want the reverse direction in FI, that was also possible through real-time integration from CO to FI. But still, these two components were different. Why? Because the tables and all, they were completely independent of FI and CO. What SAP has done now is, in S/4HANA, they came up with the universal journal concept. What do you mean by universal journal? Universal journal means FI and CO, they are not more or no more two separate components. They are now single component, which means FI and CO, they will both store the data in the same table not only from the table point of view, but whatever integrations were required, now there is no question of integration, because integration is required when you have two separate components. If your components are merged, if FI and CO both are merged and they are available at the same place, then there is no question of integration. It is by default, integration is part of the system, right? So just remember, in ECC, we were creating the primary cost elements. Before we create a primary cost element, we were creating a GL account. For secondary cost elements, there was no need of creating the GL accounts. In S4HANA, even if you want to create a primary cost element or secondary cost element, you have to create it as a GL. Okay, is it clear now? Any questions before we see in the system how to create the primary cost elements and secondary cost elements?
Gaurav, that is all clear. That is okay. I'm confused with the SD. You are saying that SD can go to the real cost objects. That is what is kind of confusing. SD,
No,
how
no,
can
what
it
I'm
be a
saying,
real cost object?
no, I gave the example that even the CO values in CO, they flow from different modules. So
No,
I'm not saying
SD piece, right? That arrow you are showing, that is,
yes.
can you give me more, can you give more
This
explanation?
is an example. Yeah, this is an example of COPA. Okay, so if you talk about costing-based COPA, what happens in costing-based COPA is, as soon as you create a sales order in SAP SD module, it will automatically flow to the COPA component in CO, so that you can carry out your profitability analysis reports. So in this particular case, the cost object, see, it is not coming from FI. I given you the example that sometimes the values are posted in one component, then they are gone in FI, and then from FI, they are posted to CO. But in other components like SD, there is a concept of costing based COPA. What happens in costing based COPA is, as soon as you create a sales order, the values of those sales order, whatever is revenue in that sales order, whatever is cost, whatever is sales quantity, that is transferred immediately to the COPA module, which is a part of CO component.
Right. What about in account based? Is that also okay? Let's take this way. If you post that, is this a real object or is it a statistical object? You consider that way. When
No,
the
see, this is a
posting SD sales order is going, now it is like, you know, I've tested sales order piece is it is blacking out if we just do the replication in through some external interface. But let's say if a real posting is happening, when you say the posting is coming from SD to CO, is this a real posting or you're talking about, is it a statistical posting?
Statistical, not real.
Statistical, right? Okay, got it. Thank you.
And again, coming to your question, so see, I am trying to mix both here, which is ECC as well as S4HANA. So when I say costing-based COPA, I gave you the example of previously, because I am assuming here, although many of you might be already heard about what has changed in account-based COPA, but whenever I'm talking about a particular terminologies, I am assuming that you know ECC, but you don't know S4HANA. So in this example, I told you that in costing-based COPA, the values flow from SD to CO module as soon as the sales order is created. Now, in S4HANA, this functionality of replicating the values from the sales orders to COPA module is also provided in account-based COPA. Okay, there is something called as predictive accounting. Through predictive accounting, we can immediately take the values from SD module and we can store into the account-based COPA tables. Clear, Steve?
Right, got it.
Okay, any other questions?
Vikram, I have a question. So when you have explained here, like values are flowing from MM, SD, and PP to CO, sometimes through FI or sometimes directly to the CO. Are there any other modules as well besides these three? Or if you can give me idea, like
Yes. I gave you the example that many different components are sending the values to FI and CO. So the common components, which if you see here itself, if I go to this OKKP transaction, so here itself you can see some of the list of those components which are part of CO. So for example, if I double click on this, And if I go to activate components, so you can see projects. Projects means what? These are created in PS module of SAP, right?
Okay.
Same way you can see real estate management. So this is REFX or RE, a classic RE module. Even those can send the values to CO. Not only this, if you are using PM module, so even the plant maintenance orders that you create in SAP PM module, that are also considered as a cost object. So controlling is a module which is very tightly integrated with most of the SAP modules. Okay, so it is not only restricted to these three that I have written. It includes many different modules in SAP. Only thing is, what I wanted to communicate here is CO itself, like if I talk about how many postings I am directly making in CO, it would not be more than 2 to 5%. Most of the values in CO module will be coming from the outside components.
I see. Okay, Vikram. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so now the question is, what is changed when it comes to create the cost elements in SAP S/4HANA? Okay, so I'll tell you first how it was working in ECC, and then I'll tell you how it is changed in S/4HANA. Okay, so in ECC, there were two different things. GL account master data was completely different, and cost element master data was completely different. So if I wanted to create a GL account, I can directly go to transaction FS00, right? Within transaction FS00, I was able to create the GL account. But now, if you can see here, there is a new field, GL account type. Okay, this field was not there in SAP ECC. Why SAP provided this field is because the other two transactions to create the new cost element as a primary cost element, which what was the transaction code that we were using in ECC to create a cost element?
KH01.
KA01, we were using transaction KA01 in SAP ECC to create a new cost, primary cost element. So if I go to transaction KA01, okay, you can see it is again taking you to the same screen, which is FS00. Okay, so KA01 was a separate transaction in ECC, which was allowing us to create a primary cost element. Okay, but it was completely different screen. But now when I'm trying to use KA01, it is taking me to the same screen. What does it mean? It means that the master data of GL account and cost element is no more different. It is the same master data. In the same screen, you can create the GL as a GL account as well as a primary cost element. Okay. What about the secondary cost element? What was the transaction code to create a secondary cost element? Any idea? You remember what was the transaction code?
In
It was
ECC or here in
in ECC, secondary cost element.
I don't recall, Vikram.
Okay, it was KA06. Okay, so even if you open transaction KA06, it is again taking you to the same screen of GL creation. Okay, if I show you from the path, so if you go to accounting, controlling, cost element accounting, master data, cost element, okay, individual processing. So you can see here itself, they also changed to FS00. Okay, so earlier at least the transaction code was still available, KA01, but again now I think in 1909 even they changed this to FS00. So there is no more KA01 and KA06. All these three transactions are leading to the single transaction, that is FS00. Okay, so which means whenever I am creating the GL account, okay, if I'm creating a GL account for which I don't need the cost element. Do I need cost element for each and every GL account? For which GL accounts we create the primary cost element normally in ECC?
No, Vikram, we don't need all have cost elements for all GL accounts. Only
Normally for what kind of?
Mostly expense. Yeah, expense and revenue will have cost elements.
Okay, so mostly we were creating the primary cost elements only for profit and loss accounts, expense and revenues, right?
Yes.
Okay, so for profit and loss accounts, we were creating the cost element. Again, is it necessary to create a primary cost element for each and every profit and loss account? Can you give me one example for which we normally don't create a cost element? It is expense account, but we don't create a cost element.
Not for every expense. For non-operative expense and revenue, we don't need cost elements, right, Vikram?
So any example of non-operative expense and revenue?
For example, if there is a sale of stock or share
Sale
invest.
of stock is revenue, but normally for COGS, okay, cost of goods sold account, we normally don't create the cost element. So what I mean here is, whenever you are creating the GL account, okay, so primary cost element we were only creating for profit and loss GL accounts. For balance sheet accounts, normally 99% of the times we were not required to create the cost element. Okay, why I'm saying 99%? There is 1% chance, I'll talk about that. There is one type of GL account which you can also create, one or two. There are two types of balance sheet GL accounts for which you can create a cost element, but that cost element is statistical cost element. Okay, so we'll talk about that. But mostly for balance sheet accounts, we were never required to create the cost element, right? We were creating the cost element only for the expense accounts or revenue accounts, profit and loss accounts. So what does it mean? It means, let me put it here. So whenever I'm creating a GL account, or maybe I'll write for which GL accounts we should create a cost element, that is primary cost element. Okay, number one, for balance sheet, so not required. We don't need to create the primary cost element for the balance sheet accounts. For profit and loss accounts, okay, depends. Okay, depends means what? So if we want to make postings or to transfer postings from this GL account to any cost object in CO, then we need to create a primary cost element, right? But on the other hand, okay, so maybe I'll write it point wise. So this is point A. If you want to transfer postings from this GL account to any cost object in CO, we need to create a primary cost element. If not, we can, or we don't need to create a cost element. Okay, what does it mean? The example of this is COGS account. So COGS account, normally we don't take it to the controlling module. Okay, COGS is a cost of goods sold, which is normally posted whenever you are selling any material from the SD module. Okay, so I'll talk about that, why we don't create the cost element for the COGS, and what are the other GL accounts where we don't create the cost elements. Okay, but just remember there are two types of GL accounts within profit and loss. One is for which we want to transfer the values to CO, and second is for which we don't need to transfer the values to CO. Okay, so this type of accounts are called as balance sheet accounts. We don't need to segregate this. These are our balance sheet accounts. Within profit and loss, there are two types. Okay, within profit and loss, there are two types. Number one is, these are operative P&L account, and these are non-operative. So if you are not sending the data to CO, Normally they are non-operative P&L accounts. Okay, so now in S4HANA, if I want to tell the system whether or not the primary cost element should be created in the background or not, that information you have to tell via this GL account type. There is a new field, as I told you, which is called as GL account type. This field you will not be able to see in SAP ECC. You will only be able to see if you are using SAP Simple Finance on top of ECC. If you are using S4HANA, definitely not. Right? So now, whenever I want to create a GL account, if I want to tell the system that this GL account is only for FI purpose, that is, if I want to create this GL account only for balance sheet, I don't want to send this balance sheet information to any cost object in CO, then I will select this balance sheet account. Okay, on the other hand, if I want to tell the system that this is a profit and loss account, okay, and I want to send the values to CO. If I want to send the values to CO, it will come under primary cost or revenue. So primary cost or revenue will always create primary cost element. Okay. If I don't want to create a cost element, if I want to create a GL account of nature profit and loss, but I don't want to create it as a cost element, then I'll be using this non-operating expense or income. Okay. And last one, which was not required at all in ECC, KA06. Okay, so we were not creating the GL account for the secondary cost elements. But now in S4HANA, for each and every secondary cost element, we have to create the secondary cost account. That is mandatory. So even in your balance sheet, okay, you can obviously customize your balance sheet. You can group it into whatever you want to see, what you don't want to see. But let's not talk about balance sheet, let's talk about trial balance. So even in your trial balance, you'll be able to see the secondary cost if there is any balance in that particular account. But again, normally 100%, even not normally, 100% of the time secondary cost element is just for the adjustment purpose. So the value is going to be 0 only, right? But still, even if the value is 0, we need to create the cost element as the secondary cost account using transaction FS00 itself. Okay, so let's now take example. I want to create multiple GL accounts. Number one, I want to create the travel expense account. Okay, number two, I want to create a salary expense account. Number three, I want to create a bank account. Number four, I want to create the COGS account. And number five, I want to create the allocation or settlement account, which would be used only in CO. So can you tell me, out of these 5 accounts, what should be the account type? Okay, for each and every account, what should be the account type? What do you think? Travel expense will come under which category? Under which account type?
It will come under the primary cost and revenue.
Okay, it will come under primary cost and revenue because I want to tell the system that whenever I am going to perform any expense on travel, I want system to also track the cost object. So this travel was related to which particular department, right? Or to which particular cost center, right? Same way, what about salary expense? So this would be primary
Same.
cost or revenue. What about salary?
Same case.
Sorry?
Same.
It is the same case. Primary and primary cost and revenue.
Yes, it would be same. So it would be also primary or secondary. What about bank?
Bank should be a balance sheet item.
Bank is a balance sheet item, right? Bank is not a profit and loss, so there is no question of whether it is operating or non-operating. Bank is a balance sheet account. Okay, so I'll create this GL account with the GL account type as balance sheet. What about COGS?
Non-operating.
You said non-operating.
Normally we create COGS as non-operating expenses. And what about the settlement, which would be only used for
Secondary.
it is a secondary cost element. Okay, so based on what exactly is the nature of GL account, it is mandatory that you have to, the first thing, whenever you are going to create a new GL account, the first thing System is going to ask you is what is the type of this GL account, whether it is a primary or it is a non-operating or balance sheet or secondary cost element. So these are the 4 options which are available, which you need to select. Then only the system will behave accordingly. Okay, let's take this example. Let's try to create this GL accounts now. So in our case, when we set up the chart of account, do you remember how many characters we defined our GL account to be?
6 actually. 6, right?
You had defined 4.
4 or 6?
4.
Okay, let's go and see OBD4. Okay, and for our chart of account, which is ABCS, here we defined 4, but I don't remember when we created the chart of account, maybe there we defined 6, but anyways, we can use this 4 characters. So our assets are starting from 2, our expenses are starting from 4, liabilities from 1, and revenues from 3, and secondary cost from 9. So maybe we can add one more here, which is related to revenue. So let's say my operating revenue. What do you think operating revenue will fall in which category? It would be primary itself, right? If it is operating revenue, definitely you want to track for which profit center we are generating this revenue, right? Definitely you want to send this revenue information to the CO module for the internal reporting purpose, right? So let's now create it one by one. So number 1, I'll create bank, which is starting from 2 because it is an asset. Okay, and our company code is ABCS. I'll click on this new button. Otherwise, everything is same. If you are already used to ECC, then there is not much difference in the screen. So the first thing in ECC, it was directly asking you account group. Okay, and there was one field here to tick whether it is a balance sheet account or the profit and loss account. So earlier there were account types are available in ECC also, but there were only 2 options: balance sheet or profit and loss. Now there are 4. So you have to select out of this 4. So this particular one is balance sheet account. Okay, I can provide whatever text I want. So let's say this is nothing but Citibank. Let's go to the control data. In control data, let me check if there are any mandatory fields. Otherwise, most of the, if there is any change, I'll talk about that. Things are same. One important difference that you will find compared to SAP ECC was in ECC there was line item display here, open item management and line item display. Okay, so line item display, can you tell me what was the purpose of line item display?
When any GL account needs to be managed as an open item management, at that time all the transaction needs to be represented in a separate line. So it was mandatory to have both the options selected, open item as well as line item.
Okay, so open item, what you said is correct, but line item, like what would I get if I, let's say, what will happen if I don't activate the line item display?
Then it will, the GL represent the aggregates, not the individual transactions, I am assuming, Vikram.
Right, so we have the line level reports, right? So if I want to see the lines of the GL account, I can go to report FBL 3L, right? Or FAGL L03, right? Which is a line level report. If I want to see what are the lines posted to the particular GL, those reports, line level reports, will only work if I activated line item display from here. Now in S4HANA, SAP has removed that line item display tick. The reason is by default, see why earlier that line item display tick was required was if SAP stores all the lines by default, it will unnecessarily affect the performance because we were using the traditional database. Right now, SAP has simplified the database. We are using SAP HANA in the background, so there is no worry from the performance point of view. And that is the reason SAP says we have a lot of like we don't have any worry for the performance issues, and that is the reason by default SAP will store all the line items in the background. So you don't need to activate or deactivate. Instead, everything is getting stored in the background without any performance issues. Okay, but otherwise there are not much changes. We will talk about if there are any. Let's go to the create bank interest. You need to enter the field group.
Vikram, just go back to, I thought that line item, the one clear spec to ledger
No, this is
groups.
different.
It was
This
there
is different.
before? It looks like
This
I
was not
didn't
there.
see this before.
This was not before. This is a
It
new
was
thing.
not there, right?
Not there, yes.
Yeah,
Now they introduced from 1809 or 1909. Is that what you recall, or was it there?
No, I think it was even there in 1709.
It was there. Okay, I
Yes,
didn't notice that. So,
yes, it was there.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Vikram, for
now,
your information, I'm working in ECC 6 and EHP 7, and I think this one is option. This option is there.
no, Satish, I think this option was introduced in S4HANA, but see what is happening nowadays is whenever SAP is introducing a new functionality in SAP S4HANA, if you upgrade your UI, okay, from the database point of view, we don't need to worry, but if I upgrade my UI from 7.2 to 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, so these fields are appearing by default in SAP ECC also. Now,
Okay.
some of the fields works functionally also. Some of the fields are just from the user interface point of view, but irrespective of whether you tick it or not, it will not work. So I'm not saying in ECC it will not work. Maybe they introduced this in ECC also, but this functionality was first time introduced in S4HANA. So if you are talking about the ECC systems that you are using from before 2013, where there is no upgrade till now, then definitely this functionality was not there.
Okay. Yeah, point taken.
Okay, we'll talk about this. This is a separate thing because we need to post some documents in the ledger group, then only you'll be able to understand this. So as of now, let's go to the create bank interest. And here I will just enter the field status group. Again, we will go with the standard field status group. So for bank accounts, normally we use this G005, which means value date would be the mandatory field. Okay, and click on save. So sorry, we have not entered the account group. So I need to go to type description. And here this is going to be assets. Let's try to save now. So this is done. So we have just created one GL account, which is balance sheet account. Let's create another one. So I want to create the travel expenses. My expenses are starting from 4. So 4000 and new. GL account type would be primary cost or revenue. Account group would be expenses. Okay, and this would be travel expense. Okay, I'll go to the control data. Now you will be able to see one change. See, earlier in ECC, if I'm creating a GL account, and if I want to create this GL account also as my primary cost element, what we were doing, there was a button here, edit cost element, if you remember. Okay, so whenever we create a GL account, after creation of GL account, we can click on edit cost element, and system will ask us what cost element category you want to provide. You remember? Okay, that was the case in SAP ECC, but now we are not able to see edit cost element button here. So what will happen is, as soon as you select this GL account type as primary cost or revenue, okay, and then if you go to the control data tab, you will find new fields, okay, related to cost element. So there is no separate button to go for the cost element settings. Instead, all those settings you can enter here itself. Okay, so system is now asking you cost element category in the same screen of GL account under the control data tab. Okay, so here if I click on F4, it will give me the same options that I was getting in edit cost element. So if I double click on this and then go to the create bank interest tab, this is my cost account. So we normally use G004 for cost accounts. Okay, so this is how what system has done now. System has not only created the GL account, but also the cost element. Okay, system has created a cost element. That's the reason system asked us what is the cost element category. So GL account and cost elements are created at once. We don't need to go to edit cost element separately and create a primary cost element. Okay, so can you tell me one other thing apart from the cost element category? that we were entering in edit cost element button. There was edit cost element button where we were entering the cost element category, and there were some other things which we were able to maintain there.
Period for that particular cost element?
No, not well. Okay, validity period, yes, there was a validity period, but now there is no validity period for cost element. Yes, that is a good point that you raised. So as soon as you create a GL account, the cost element is created, and this cost element doesn't have any time period. Okay, it is available throughout. If you want to block, you can definitely block by blocking the GL account itself. Yes, anything else apart from the time frame? Do you remember we were able to specify the default account assignments? So for example, whenever I'm creating this GL account as a cost element, in the master data itself, I can tell the system that by default for this GL account, this is my cost center. This would be the default cost center. So if a user is not providing the cost center, take this one. We were able to provide the default account assignments in the master data, right? But now there is no such option. Okay, in S4HANA, if you are using this FS00 transaction to create a cost element, there is no option to define what would be the default cost center or internal order or profit center for this particular cost element. Okay, so how are we going to take care of that? In ECC, there were two places where we can define the default account assignments. Number one was cost element master data, and what was number two? Have you heard about OKB9? OKB9 is a default account assignment, right? I think yesterday also we discussed something about OKB9. So OKB9 was available in ECC in addition to the cost element master data to define the default account assignments. But in S4HANA, since it is not possible to define the account assignments in the cost element master data, there is only one place where you can maintain the default account assignments, and that is OKB9. Okay, OKB9 is still available. You can go there and you can define whatever account assignments you wanted to be defaulted for a particular cost element. Clear on that? Any questions?
So Vikram, OKB9 is just for default cost center account assignment. Am I correct or?
No. If you go to OKB9, there are different options. It is not only for cost center, it is default account assignment. So you can define the, you can see first of all, you can define the cost center, order, even the profitability segment, profit center. So there are multiple cost objects that you can default based on the cost element.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just remember these are some of the important questions which they ask in the exam. Now, another important thing, this is fine if I'm implementing SAP for the new customer. Okay, so if I'm implementing SAP for the new customer, I'll tell him whatever are the default account assignments, they need to come from OKB9. But what if a customer was already using SAP ECC and he has already cost element master data, and within cost element master data, there were a lot of default cost objects that he has already mentioned. What will happen to those default account assignments? Are you getting it? So let's say a conversion project where customer is already using ECC. He is already having the cost element master data in K01 and he has already entered default cost centers. Now what will happen to those default cost centers? So when you perform the system conversion, which means when you upgrade your system to S4HANA, automatically there is a program in SAP which will automatically copy whatever default account assignments that you entered in the cost element master data, and they will be copied to OKB9. Okay, that is not a manual activity, that will take care automatically. That will be taken care automatically. Clear?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, so next one, let's create another one. This is for salaries. So 4001, I'll click on new. So first I will go and select the GL account type. So If I select primary cost or revenue, see this, just concentrate on this control data. Okay, first of all, let me select the primary cost or revenue. Okay, let me select the account group, which is expenses in this case. Let me give the short text. This is salaries. Okay, and if I go to control data, now I'll be able to see this cost element category. This cost element category box or this particular section will only come into picture when you are either selecting primary cost or you are selecting secondary cost. If you are selecting balance sheet or non-operating expense or income, then this cost element category box will not come at all. Okay, let me show you once again. So I will select the primary cost. Salaries are also my primary cost, and this would be again G004, which is for the cost accounts. Let me save this. Okay, now I need to create one more expense account. Sorry, yeah, one more expense account, which is COGS. Now there is some background noise. Yeah, so for this one, I don't want to create the cost element. Okay, this is my non-operating expense or income. So in that particular case, I will again click on new button. Okay, I'll select the GL account type. This time, instead of selecting primary, I will select non-operating expense or income. Okay, my account group would be still same, it is expense, but this would be COGS. Now, because I selected GL account type non-operating expenses or income, if you go to control data, you will not be able to find the cost element category related fields. Okay, why? Because I'm not creating cost element category at all. I'm not creating cost element at all. I'm just creating a GL account in FI. I don't want to send these values to the CO component. I don't want to provide any cost object whenever I'm making the posting. So when I post the COGS, I don't need the cost center. Cost center is required whenever I'm doing the expense which belongs to the particular department or to the particular cost center. COGS is something which is revenue for me. So COGS I am doing because it is generating revenue from me, right? So for COGS, normally we don't provide any cost object, and that is the reason we create it as a non-operating expense or income. Okay, so control data will not show you cost element category at all because we selected this GL account type non-operating expense or income. Okay, and then you go to create bank interest tab, and this is again the expense account, so I'll still go and select G004. Okay, and save it. Last one, we want to create one secondary cost element for performing the settlements. So in ECC, if I want to create a settlement secondary cost element, I was using to transaction KO06. Okay, so if I go to KA06, it is again taking me to the same screen, that is FS00. Okay, and my secondary cost elements are starting from 9. So I'll create first cost element as 9001 under this company code ABCS. Okay, I'll click on new. Now this time I have to select the secondary cost, and that is the reason we have clicked, the secondary cost, and here I need to select the secondary cost. This is the reason why we created the separate account group in OBD4 for secondary cost accounts also. In ECC, this was not required. We were not creating the secondary cost element as a GL. But now, since it is getting created as a GL, we definitely need to create a separate account group for secondary cost accounts also. Okay, so select the secondary cost accounts, go to control data. In control data, because secondary cost element is also the cost element, you'll be able to see the cost element category. But these categories would be for secondary cost element. It will not show you one and all. It is only showing you the cost element categories which are related to secondary cost elements. So assessments, overheads, project related if you are using PS module. Okay, so I will go with internal settlement. That is number 21. Okay, in create bank interest tab, field status group is still mandatory for each and every GL account. So even if it is secondary GL account, you have to provide the field status group. So we will go with the standard one, which is general one, G001, in case of secondary cost elements. Okay, and click on save. So sorry, we forgot to provide the description. This is the settlement cost element and save. Right? Another important thing which is asked in the exam is for out of the below GL account types, cost element is created for which type of GL accounts. Okay, so you need to go for primary and secondary. For balance sheet and non-operating expense, system will not show you the option to select the cost element category at all. Clear? Any questions till now? Now you understood how to create the GL accounts for different type of accounts in SAP S/4HANA. So how to create a GL account if you are creating it for the secondary cost element, how to create a GL account if you are creating for the balance sheet account, how to create it for non-operating, and how to create for primary cost element.
Sir, I have a doubt here.
Yes.
Regarding you said no, for to appear cost element category, if we select primary and secondary, then only it will appear. Other
Right.
than that, if we select non-operative or balance sheet, it won't appear, right?
Right.
Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So this cost element category box will only appear if you are selecting primary or secondary cost elements from here. Sorry, from here, GL account type. If you are selecting non-operating or balance sheet, then this box will not appear at all. Clear? Let's talk about the tables now. So what do you think? What were the tables, if you remember, obviously, if you don't remember, not a problem. So what were the tables which we were using in SAP ECC to store the GL and cost element related master data? Okay, before I talk about the tables, very important thing, you might have heard in SAP S/4HANA, there are many tables which are deleted. Okay, there are only few tables which are left. All the tables are gone. Many times, even if you go to blocks, many tables, all the tables are deleted. There is only one table. Okay, so please avoid those kind of things. SAP deleted many tables, but you need to understand what kind of tables are removed. Okay, so don't get confused if someone asks you, okay, what about the GL tables? Don't say no, there is only AC to OK, all other tables are removed. Definitely not. Master data tables are untouched. Whatever were the master data tables in SAP ECC, those master data tables are available as it is. So can you tell me what was the master data table for GL account? Anyone, if you remember? It was SKA1. SKA1 was a GL account table for chart of account. So there are two levels at which you can create a GL account. One is at the chart of account level and second is at a company code level. Okay, so for example, if I want to see the GL account for my chart of account, which is ABCS, system will show me the list of all those GL accounts that we created. So you can see we have created this many number of GL accounts till now. Right, so these are at the chart of account level. Same way, if I want to see at the company code level, then I will go to transaction SKB1. Okay, again I'll specify my company code, which is ABCS, and it will show me what GL accounts are created at my company code level. What is the difference between SKA1 and SKB1? So if you go to the GL account master data, okay, some tabs, for example, if you see this type description tab, okay, the GL description that you can see short text, long text, these definitions will remain same. If I'm using this same GL account for multiple company codes, okay, if I assign my company code or multiple company codes to one common chart of account, in that case, this description will remain same in all company codes. Okay, but if you go to this create bank entries tab, this information is at the company code level. Okay, so the information that we want to store related to this tab will go to SKA1, while the information that we need to store, the company code relevant information, will go to SKB1. Okay, so let's go and see again. If you see SKA1, it will show you the general information which is valid throughout the chart of account. Okay, so you can see what is the account type, what is the account group, okay, what is the short text, what is the long text. This information will not change based on company code. Okay, but if I go for the company code level, you'll be able to see more detailed information which can change for a particular company code. So if I go for ABCS company code, so you can see field status group. Now what I can do is I can simply create this GL account for any other company code also. So even if I do that, my GL account type, account group, short text, long text, this will not change. Okay, what will change is I can have different field status group for different company code. So that information is getting stored in SKA1 and SKB1. SKB1 is storing company code information and SKA1 is storing chart of account information. Okay, what about the cost elements? Cost elements, we are storing the data in which tables in ECC? CSKA and CSKB. So you can see CSKA is again at the chart of account level. So chart of account is ABCS again. So this will show you the cost elements that we created. So out of 5 GL accounts, we only created the cost elements for 3, right? 2 are related to primary and 1 is secondary cost element. Again, the CSKA is for chart of account. If I want to go for the controlling area level, I'll go for CSKB. Okay, so for our controlling area, which is ABCS, I'll be still able to see 3 cost elements. Okay, so at the controlling area level, you specify what is your cost element category. At the chart of account level, you just specify what is the type of cost element and what is the description of that cost element. Right, so just remember, don't get confused by going through these blocks where they say all the tables are deleted. Only few kind of tables are deleted. Master data tables are untouched. So even today also, even if my master data screen or master data transaction code is merged, so I don't use K01 or K06 separately, but still the background tables are different for GL accounts and cost elements. Okay, so you need to remember this: cost elements and GL accounts, they are still storing the data in the same tables which they were storing earlier. Okay, so any questions on cost elements now? Have you understood the complete concept of cost element? What is primary cost element? What is secondary cost element? How to create this kind of cost elements? Where exactly the data is stored in the background?
Yeah, yes, Vikram. At the moment, I don't have any questions.
Vikram, I have one question. So SCDOK, the way you explain master data tables are intact. So it means that SCDOK table is basically for the transaction data?
Yes, obviously. Yes, ACDOK will only hold the transactional data. It has nothing to do with the master data.
Thank you, Vikram.
Okay, now we will proceed towards the 2 important cost objects, that is cost center and profit centers. Okay, so we will see how to create the master data for, we will create for profit center, because whenever you are creating the cost center, there is a field that you can enter the profit center there itself. So let's first create the profit centers and then we will create the cost centers. Okay, although there is no change in the way how you create a cost center and profit center, they are same as they were in SAP ECC, but still let's go and see how exactly they are handled in SAP S/4HANA. Now before I create the profit center and cost center, Okay, first I need to know what is my organization structure. The definition of cost center and profit center, it is very easy to create a cost center and profit center. But the major issue is to identify what cost centers are required, at what level are required, what is the hierarchy of the cost centers. So as a functional consultant, most of our time when we are discussing with the customers about their requirements, whenever we are explaining them how SAP S/4HANA works, we need to take the information from them, how exactly they want the hierarchy of the cost centers and profit centers. Okay, at what level they want to see the report, how they want to group the report. All these things are very important when you are working in the project. So we will take one example. Okay, as I told you, if you try to correlate the controlling module with the existing business requirements, this will become too easy. If you're just creating the cost center without knowing the business, then it is like you are bound to forget whatever we are learning here. Right? So let's try to take a simple example in the organization structure where you are working. So we are talking about ABCS. Okay, this ABCS we already created as a standard hierarchy. If you remember, when we created a controlling area, system asked us that what is a standard hierarchy that you want to assign to this particular controlling area, right? So we said our standard hierarchy is ABCS. So that is standard hierarchy for ABCS. Now within this, I want to divide ABCS into two parts. Okay, why? Let's assume that we have two different plants where we are manufacturing our computers and laptops. We already assumed that ABCS is into the business of manufacturing. You can call it the manufacturing or assembling of laptops and computers. So let's say ABCS is having two different plants. Number one plant is in maybe we considered India company, right? So the plant should be also in India. So first plant, let's say, is in Bangalore. Okay, and the second plant that we have in India is in Mumbai. Okay, so this company has two plants, one in Bangalore and second in Mumbai. Now within Bangalore, there are multiple departments. Okay, so within the plant, if you go to the Bangalore plant, in Bangalore plant, they have their separate admin department. Okay, then they have their separate IT department. They also have their separate production department, and within production, we can say assembling department. This department is responsible for assembling. There is a quality department which is responsible to make sure that the finished product is going out of the premises only when the quality check is performed. And there is another department called as packing department, which is responsible to pack the product before it is leaving the organization, before it is leaving for the customer's premises, right? So as of now, I'm taking only this 5 cost centers, but we can keep on adding whenever required. Now let's assume this Bangalore plant is only responsible for manufacturing of computers, desktops. Okay, and then let's talk about Mumbai now. Now Mumbai department Mumbai plant is responsible for laptops. We are only manufacturing laptops here in Mumbai. Now within Mumbai also, we have separate admin department, we have separate IT department, we have separate assembling department, we have packing, first before packing we have quality, and then packing department. Now what about HR? Okay, what about HR department? HR department is not there in each location. Instead, HR department is available here itself on top. So HR is common. Okay, there is no separate HR department for Bangalore and Mumbai. HR is a common department. Even at the headquarters, I have a common admin also. So although plant specific admin is handled at the plants, but still I have the corporate headquarters, and there also we have the admin department. Again, within the corporate headquarters, we also have the IT department, which is again common. Okay, at the headquarters, we also have the sales department, which is also common. There is no separate department for sales for desktops and laptops. Same sales department is responsible for selling the desktops and as well as laptops. So just now try to understand, there are some cost centers which I need to create at the common level. There are some cost centers I need to create at the plant level. Okay, even I can have further hierarchies available. So SAP is allowing you to create a hierarchy which suits your business requirements. Okay, so in this particular case, how many levels are there? So first level, second level, and third level, you are creating the cost centers. I have seen some companies, they have up to 6-7 levels also. Okay, maybe you can also share your knowledge. You are also working on some of the projects. So can you tell me how many cost centers levels you have seen maximum? Okay, so in short, SAP provides multiple levels. It totally depends upon the customer how many levels they want to create. Okay, and whatever you are creating the cost center hierarchy, it should also clearly tell you the profit center hierarchy also, if possible, wherever possible. Otherwise, you need to do a lot of allocations and distributions. So what we can do is, now our profit centers are desktops and laptops. So at the end of every month or at the end of every year, my management wants to see the profitability reporting at desktops and laptops level. They want to segregate how much profit we made on desktop and how much profit we made on laptop. Okay, so first of all, let me create a hierarchy for the profit center. How can I do that? I'll go to accounting, controlling. Within controlling, I'll go to profit center accounting, master data. Okay, and I can go either to standard hierarchy or I can go through profit center group. I'll show you both. Let's go to the standard hierarchy and click on change. Why I am not asking you to click on create? Because we already created the standard hierarchy for profit center, if you remember, when we activated the profit center. When we activated the profit center accounting, at that time we already provided the profit center hierarchy as ABCS, so that you will be able to see within the change itself. So if I double click here, okay, system is already showing me ABCS, which is a hierarchy which is created for controlling area ABCS. Now within this hierarchy, how many profit centers I have? In this example, I told you I have only 2 profit centers, that is desktops and laptops. So what I need to do is I need to create the profit center within this hierarchy. Okay, although I have the option here also. It is not necessary that within this I need to create a profit center. I can also create profit center groups in between. Okay, let's take this example. Let's take this example also. So I'll just extend this definition. So we understood that in Bangalore we are looking after the desktops, in Mumbai we are looking after the laptops. Let's assume there is another location, maybe in Mumbai itself, but this Mumbai is responsible for after service sales. After sales service. Okay, so this is also the department, or this is also the location. So whenever a customer is buying any of these desktops or laptops, later on, if they are finding any issue, if the product is in warranty, they will come to this location and they will get it resolved. Okay, if it is not in warranty, then definitely they have to pay, and that is the reason this is also my profit center. So this is not only incurring the cost, it is also charging to the customers for providing the service, right? So this is also my profit center. So within this, again, maybe we have admin is required, maybe IT is not at that level, but yes, let's say IT department, and then assembling, quality, packing is definitely not required, servicing department. Okay, so these are the only departments that I have in this particular location. Okay, so why I created this is now I can divide my profit center hierarchy into two parts. Number one, first I will create two groups. So lower level group, first I selected this and I created lower level group. Okay, I can give the group name. So this is product. Okay, so this is nothing but profit generated from product, enter, and I'll create another one at the same level. So I'm selecting this and going here and saying create a group at the same level. This is service. So I'm providing not only the products, I'm not only selling the products, but I'm also selling the services. Okay, enter. Now I have two different groups. Now within this product group, I want to create a profit center directly. Okay, so I can create a profit center here, but it is recommended to create a profit center using profit center screen. So let me show you. So now our hierarchy is ready. Within my company code or within my controlling area ABCS, we are responsible for the products also, and we are responsible for the service also. So now if I want to create a profit center, what I'll do is I'll go to this master data, profit center, individual processing and transaction code KE51 to create a new profit center. Okay, let's double click on this. So I want to create a profit center as desktop. This is my first profit center. Enter. So system is by default showing me controlling area ABCS. If it is not showing, you can change the controlling area by using transaction code OKKS. Okay, set controlling area. If your controlling area is not coming by default, you can use transaction code OKKS to default the controlling area. So this is my profit center. Analysis period. So from which period to which period you want to use this profit center. So by default system is showing 1st of Jan of current year. So that should be fine. You can again provide the name, which is desktop. Here system is asking you who is the responsible for this particular profit center. Okay, so definitely there will be managers, right? There will be manager who is taking, there will be one responsible manager who is completely responsible for whatever profit you are generating for desktop. Similarly, there will be another manager who will be only responsible for whatever profits you are generating from the laptops. So you have to provide the name here. So since we don't know the name, we can just write manager. But in case of company, if they want to mention the name here, they can mention it. This is important now, profit center group. So within the hierarchy, where exactly this profit center will fit. Okay, so if I do F4, now definitely desktop is my product. So it will fit into this particular group. Okay, once you enter this information, if you remember yesterday I told you, you can allow one profit center to be used in multiple company codes. It is possible. Okay, so if I go to company code data, as of now, because we are using one controlling area which is assigned to only one company code, but even if my controlling area is assigned to multiple company codes, I can make sure that this same profit center, because desktop can be produced by multiple company codes, that is not a problem, right? If I want to generate the report at the desktop level without worrying about which company code has generated that profit, I can do that, right? So I entered this basic data, and if you save it, you will still not be able to use it because you can see it is saying save as inactive. As of now, it is inactive. So if you want to activate, you have to click on this activate button. Okay, if you are getting this kind of warning, you can just ignore and press enter. Just press enter. Yes, so now the profit center desktop has been created. Okay, same way, I need to create two more. One is laptop, master data again. So this is my laptop profit center. Person responsible is again manager, and profit center group this time is again going to be same. It is also my product, right? Okay, and activate. Enter, enter, just to avoid the warning messages. And then obviously the last one is I want to provide the after sales service. So let's say service. Enter. Okay, and this will definitely come under profit center group service. Just activate it. Okay, and after creation of profit center, if you have any requirement of doing the changes or you want to display it, then definitely you can go for KE52 to change and KE53 to display. Let's double click on display and let's see some of the other fields which are important here. So we created a profit center for this controlling area and it is valid from this period to this period. So by default it is maximum, which means I can use this profit centers up to 9999. Okay, for example, if I keep it just for 1 year, then obviously next year when I try to make any posting to this profit center, system will throw error. It will tell that this profit center is not valid at the date which you are trying to post, right? So make sure that whatever is your validity period, that is matching with the business requirements. Okay, so you have the profit center name, analysis period, service, whatever name you given, person responsible, these things we discussed. Let's go to the indicators. Indicators now, as I told you, this dummy profit center concept is gone, but you can definitely lock the indicator. You can lock this profit center. What do you mean by lock? If you lock this profit center, no user will be able to post any transaction in this profit center, right? Why do you lock? So let's say, for example, I created a profit center. For some years it was valid, and later on I want to make sure that this is disabled. So one thing is I can go and change the date. I can tell the system that this was the last date, till this date only I used. I don't want to use any further. Or you can come here and you can say lock this particular profit center. Okay. Then company codes I explained you. I told you the company codes you can, whatever number of company codes you have within controlling area, by default, this profit center would be active for each and every company code. But if you think that, no, I don't want to use this profit center for a particular company code, you can just come here and you can deactivate it. Address information if you want to store. So profit center address, if you already know that, okay, this service is performed at a particular location, you can enter the location details here. Okay, communication. In communication, you can enter the details about the profit center, what is the telephone number, how should we communicate with this particular profit center. And then history, which is automatic. Yes.
Just go to that address tab where the tax kind of a thing, tax jurisdiction. Can you explain on that? How was that being set up?
Tax jurisdiction, this is normally valid for US, right? So in US, what happens, like if I give the example of India, in India, we follow the taxation at the state level, right? So country level and state level. But if you talk about the US, it is a country, then state, then jurisdiction. So if I want this is just for the information purpose, you can enter that this particular profit center will fall in which particular jurisdiction. Okay, so if I correlate this with this, let's say service department I created in the Mumbai. So according to India, I can go here and I can say, okay, this is belonging to the jurisdiction Maharashtra.
Right, but is that needed to have a tax jurisdiction configured first, and then that will be the case where it will be? Or I'm looking for an kind of an scenarios where this has been used. If you could share, if you are worked on that, I want that help. If it is not, that's fine with me. But just trying to get an idea, because there was some kind of in my past project, I had this kind of an issue there when S4HANA came in. I don't know whether this was there before, but I see from S4HANA onwards.
No, see here, this is just for the information purpose. So just take example. Let's see. If I go for change instead of display, okay, and if I go to address and if I try to select from F4, okay, so you can see this all tax jurisdiction codes need to be created from the tax setup. Okay, so there are some of them which are already provided by SAP, but still if you think that our particular tax jurisdiction is not possible here, so we can go and we can set up the tax jurisdiction from the taxation configuration. But
Right,
definitely,
I totally understand. If it is a vertex in US, you have a vertex where we get a feed and we just get that updated. But the point is, if you look practically, right, when I do a posting in my vendor or customer, I do those postings already. Where is this fitting in? Will this not be a duplication? That's the kind of
no. This is, see, as I told you, this is just for the information purpose. This is not going to affect your transactional postings.
No, it is asking me to put that value. That means it is coming from the tax table, right? Whatever the configurations, the one which if you go to F4,
yes,
the one which you pressed it there.
Yes, it is definitely coming from the configuration of tags.
Right.
But this is just the master data information. This is like, it is not like that whenever I'll be posting anything to this profit center, my transactions will be affected because I entered tax jurisdiction here. Definitely not.
When is the case that this has been used? Is this, I know that it is not having any real posting, it is just taking the values from the posting. But again, I cannot really post to a profit center. That is totally understood. But when is this? What is the purpose of this? Is that they are getting the reports on this, get the slicing and dicing of informations, or why is this kept? Is there I know that I'm asking too many questions, but trying to understand why is that kept there?
It is just, as you said, it is just for the reporting purpose.
Okay, and is that considered as a text field if in the point of view of profit center, or it is doing something?
It is not a text field. It is definitely coming from whatever you mentioned, but
table. Okay.
Yes, it is coming from the table, but this is just for the reporting purpose. So let's say, for example, if I have 10 profit centers, now definitely I can go to the profit center level and I can generate the report on the profit center level. But let's assume there is a requirement where you want to generate the report based on the tax jurisdiction. Okay, not the tax jurisdiction that you posted at the time of transaction, but the tax jurisdiction which is mentioned in the master data of the profit center. Then if you are maintaining this field for each and every profit center, you can definitely generate your Z report out of it. See, there are two differences. I'll tell you. Let's say I am providing the service, but I am providing the service to the customer who belongs to other jurisdiction, right? So in my transaction, which jurisdiction will come? Customer's jurisdiction, right?
Because all those customers who's responsible for that services, I am having a taxes. If it is a sales, I withhold the taxes, and then they pay me. I pay to the government, right? That is called as a tax jurisdiction. Now, the tax jurisdiction to the point of profit center, I am capturing that in my AR and AP. Why? What is it doing in profit center? Is my question. But again, don't put a lot of time, but I'm just getting, if you know, that is fine. Otherwise, don't even worry about it.
Okay. Now, as I told you, my understanding is AR and AP, whatever you are getting, that will not affected with this. This is just for the information purpose that in addition to the AR and AP reports that you are already getting from the transactional point of view, from here you can also get the reporting from the master data point of view that which profit center belongs to which tax jurisdiction.
But which jurisdiction will go? Because there is too many customers or too many vendors. I might have tons of customers, right? Which jurisdiction I'll put there?
No, profit center jurisdiction. So for example, as I've given you the example, my customer can be from other states, but my profit center, the setup that I have, that belongs to the particular jurisdiction, right? So currently, if I'm staying in Maharashtra, so from the state point of view, I am the person from the Maharashtra jurisdiction, right?
But the jurisdiction doesn't give you any tax codes, right? Because I don't really charge it against that Maharashtra. I charge it against the customer or vendor, correct? I made a purchase, I pay the tax. If I charge an invoice, I receive from the customer. So that is called tax jurisdiction, right? Whatever 5% or 10% I pay and receive at the end of the year and net it off, and due from I do it that way. But here technically you don't know which tax I have to fill it up, right? I know we leave it blank, but if this is there, what is your previous experience that which tax jurisdiction you put? Let's say Stephen is a customer, you charge against me, and if it is a customer, you will charge against Stephen. Now, this is neither Stephen nor anybody, rather it is Maharashtra. Maharashtra cannot give you any tax jurisdiction, right? We are not doing anything because I don't do any business with Maharashtra. I do with customer and vendor, correct? That's what I'm asking, but don't worry, just continue.
No. Let me also check.
Probably when if you get an answer, because again, it is very tough question, but again, don't even worry. Just trying to, if you had got the answer, that is okay. That's otherwise don't worry.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so yeah, I was talking about communication where you can enter all these details, and then I was talking about history. So whatever changes you make, so it is saying who created this particular profit center. Okay, so this is common everywhere in SAP system. Whenever you are creating any new master data, even if you go to the GL master data, you'll be easily able to track who has created on what date, then what are the changes made after the creation. Okay, so this is, you can see this is created from my user ID on this particular date. Okay, and if I make some changes, let's say for example, if I go to basic data, and just for the example's sake, I'll say this manager 1 instead of manager, I'm changing it to manager 1. So if I go to the history now, after saving it, it is saved in inactive status. So let me first activate it. Okay, and then if I go to the history tab, so if I click on change documents for master data, so what has been changed, you can see person responsible for profit center has been changed. If I double click, it will tell me on this date, this field was changed, the old value was this, new value is this. Okay, and if you even double click on this, if it is not allowing through double click, it will definitely allow you through no, I think this much information. It is not showing the time. Normally it also shows the time, at what time the change was done. I'll show you with the GL. So if you go to the GL master data, okay, so for example, if I select this GL account 4000 for my company code ABCS, okay, and here also we have the information tab where you can see who created and when he has created, and whatever changes you do. Again, if I just make a small change here, so travel expense 1 is my long description. Okay, and then if you go to change documents, okay, you can see long text has been changed. If you double click on it, it will tell you this field was changed, the old description was this one and the new description is this one. And if you double click on this, you can see it is giving you the information, what date, what time, which user, which field, what was the original value and what has been changed. Okay, and which language it is changed. So complete trail is provided in SAP system. It is not possible that some user has done some transactions and later on he's saying, no, I have not done it. You can very easily go and check this if any issues are there related to the change document. Okay, so this is how you can set up the profit centers, you can set up the cost elements. Maybe we can close today and we will talk about how to set up the cost center standard hierarchy and cost centers in the next session with the transactions. Okay, so any questions, please go ahead. Otherwise, we can close. And I got the information from you guys who wants server access from today itself, who wants from the next week, and who wants from the next month onwards. So I will arrange accordingly.
Hello, Vikram sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question here. In FS00, while creating that GL, in GL there are few options is there: primary, secondary, balance sheet, and non-operative. Can you please throw some explanation on this? I'm a bit confused here. Exclusively for non-operative expense and income.
Okay. See, whenever you are creating a GL account, Okay, you need to tell the system that this GL account, first of all, first one is very clear. If it is a balance sheet or a profit and loss account, is it
Yeah.
clear what is balance sheet account?
Yeah.
Balance sheet account means whatever assets, liabilities you are creating, you will be selecting as a balance sheet account. Normally, for balance sheet accounts, we don't create a cost element, and that is the reason when you select this balance sheet account, system will not ask you cost element category, right?
Okay.
Second type of account is profit and loss, right? Within profit and loss, SAP provided two options: primary cost or revenue, non-operating expense or income. What is the difference between these two? Both are profit and loss accounts. Only thing is, if I go for primary cost or revenue, then whenever I'm doing the transaction with that particular GL, I can also provide the cost object. It means I can tell, okay, this expense belongs to this cost center, this expense belongs to this internal order. Okay, so cost object information I can enter in that particular transaction as long as I am using primary cost or revenue, which means I can do my internal reporting on those GLs where I'm using primary cost or revenue. But there are some GLs for which I don't need to carry any internal reporting. Okay, for example, COGS. We took the example of COGS account. For COGS account, we don't want to enter the cost center internal order information. And that is the reason we don't need to create as a primary cost. We will create it as a non-operating expense or income. Okay?
Okay.
Clear on balance sheet and profit and loss now?
Yeah.
Okay. The last one is, if you want to do any transaction directly in CO module without touching FI, okay, you want to directly do the adjustments within the CO module itself. In that case, we need the secondary cost. Okay, in ECC, the secondary cost was created separately. There was no need to create a GL account. But in S4HANA, even for secondary cost element, we need to create a GL account. And for that, we will be using this secondary cost account type.
Okay. So actually, for non-operating expenses or income and primary cost or revenue, for both the things, there is one similarity. I mean, one difference only. That is, cost element object. I mean, cost element will be captured for primary, and for non-operative expenses, it will not be there. So this is the difference only there.
Yes. So if you are using primary, through cost object, values will flow from FI to CO. If you are using non-operating, values will not flow from FI to CO because you are not asking any cost object.
Okay, understood, sir. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Vikram, some point of time, not now. Do you have an LSMW kind of a formats where we do the mass upload or something like that down the road? If you could share that.
SAP has provided a new tool called as LTMC. In that, SAP already provided the standard templates for master data uploads.
Oh, is that right? When not now, maybe when you get something, you can share that knowledge.
So maybe I will explain that, but like it will take
Sorry,
time
I'm
because
asking too many questions. If that is okay with you.
not a problem. You can ask. That is not an issue. So LTMC is a transaction code. You can just execute transaction LTMC. Okay, you can try this in your system also. Okay, it will open this app called as Migrate Your Data.
Mm-hmm.
And in this one, you will find multiple different templates or multiple different objects which you can migrate. Maybe it is working slow. Let me copy this and take to Google Chrome.
So is this in the SPRO area or is it purely for S4 they introduced this?
This is only for S4. After S4, they introduced this.
I see. Oh, is it taking you to NWBC?
Sorry?
This is different one. Is this taking you to NWBC, NetWeaver?
Yes, it is taking me to the Fiori.
Nice.
So name, I will just provide, let's say I want to migrate cost centers. Just click on create. Okay, and here you can see these are the list of different objects that you can upload. Activity types, cache memory card, class. You'll be able to see cost center. So for example, if I take this, these are different migration objects. So you can select which one you want to migrate. You can, if you don't have your system working on LTMC, once you get the server access of this system, you can also try here.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see this is a cost center and you can see the download template. This is Excel template provided by SAP itself, which you can use to upload the cost centers.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. It shows all the fields?
Yes, most of the fields.
So what I do is I just save this and then use the transactions to upload via that Fiori itself. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, you can upload also. So once you are done with the changes, you can upload the file.
Oh,
Okay.
within the same
Once you
transaction.
upload the file, yes, using the same transaction. Once you upload the file, then there are some checks which are performed in the background, validation and all. There are 2-3 steps. So if there is any error, it will stop you. If there is no error, it will upload and you will be able to see those cost centers uploaded in the system.
And does it go to SM37 or SM35?
It will go directly from here itself. You don't need to go to that transaction separately. It will show you the Fiori itself.
I see. Okay. And is this these templates are there even for business partners as well, or only for a few of these master data?
Most of the
for everything.
Most of the objects. Not only master data, but most of the transactional data also.
Oh, okay. I saw that. Even for
You'll
bank.
be able to customer, yes,
The
customer.
transaction is LTSC, right? LTSC.
LTMC. It
MC.
stands for Legacy Transformation Migration Cockpit. It is LTMC.
LTMC. M like mango, right?
Yes.
Okay. LTMC. All right.
LTMC.
Okay. Thank you. That's a good help. Thanks.
Okay. Okay then, thank you all. We'll meet next Saturday with the cost center related master data topics. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.